Hi there, welcome to the Gardens and Graveyards channel. My name is Charisma and today we're meeting in the backyard and we are going to do a backyard garden tour for the middle of August in 2024, Zone 9A on the Oregon coast. We have a very temperate climate. Our typical summer days are about 75 degrees and we get intermittent rain in the evenings. And so we still are watering every day because it's not enough rain to like saturate the ground, but it is enough so that everything stays nice and lush and definitely nice and cool. So I always try to like remind you all of that because the amount of growth that we have on our annuals looks a little different than someone who is on drip irrigation in really hot climates, because that's what annuals really love, and we do not provide that here. One, we don't provide drip irrigation, and two, we can't provide 100-degree weather because it doesn't exist here. We're about half a mile off of the Pacific Ocean, and we're protected from big winds and salt because of our elevation and the trees that are around us. But we still garden in a temperate climate. So just keep that in mind as you're walking around the garden with me. We've had a really successful year. It's been really beautiful. We've had long weeks of dry weather, which is sometimes unusual. Sometimes we have like months of rain even in the summertime. So it's been a real joy to garden this year. And things are looking really beautiful because of it, and things are looking a little tired because of it. So let's get the camera turned around and I will show you what is going on in the backyard right now. We're starting at a little bit different of a perspective than we normally do. I usually start the tour up on the deck, but I found a little corner of shade so that I could, you could see me in the camera. I like to do these tours either early in the morning or later in the evening so that you can really see all of the color and the foliage and everything like that. It's a little later in the morning than I expected to be out here, but I think we'll still be okay. It's about 11 o'clock in the morning. Anyway, let's start here. This is the moon garden. You can wait just a minute and we will be sharing the moon garden tour with you tomorrow on Monday. On this side, we have Creeping Jenny that has kind of become a ground cover. It was in these little pots, spilled over, loved it. It overwintered, and now it's becoming a ground cover, which I'm not mad about. I love it. We do have this Crocosmia that desperately needs to be tied up, which is on our list of things to do today because it's leaning over this rhododendron. And, I think she would like to have some sunshine. Over here, we have a pollinator's garden, and the oregano has completely exploded. That is what all of these purple blooms are. That is all oregano. And then this is all autumn joy sedum. And in years past, we had multiple other kinds of plants growing in here. So we have this really dark sedum in here. But these two plants are really aggressive and have taken over. And over on this side, I did plant a few other plants this year. I planted a larkspur that did not make it. Oh, look, here it is with no foliage. There's little tiny flowers. That's hilarious. We have, what is this? I can't remember. This is about to bloom. Whatever it is. There's more in here. And there's plenty of weeds, of course. Always weeds. Looking for the tag. There's a calendula. I'll have to look up what those flowers are. And then we have a pink guava, and then of course over on this side there's just all of this oregano, which the bed is actually right here, and you know, it's spilling out everywhere. It is just kind of a crazy situation. So this fall, everything's gonna get completely ripped out of there. We will replant. Some things can be transplanted, like the autumn joy sedum, that'll be transplanted, put somewhere else in the garden. We will divide it and leave a little bit here because the bees do love it. But everything else is just gonna get removed and we'll start fresh. I did pick up some Jacob's Klein bee balm, and it's looking absolutely gorgeous. I put it in a pot because I didn't want it to get lost in there. But we've had this kind of bee balm in this garden before, and the hummingbirds went absolutely wild for it. So I know that I will be putting those back into this garden once we revamp it. Since I'm over on this side, I'm just gonna cruise down here. The shrubs are all done blooming, and the rose here we cut back not too long ago, and she's already put off a whole bunch of new blossoms, which is beautiful. And then, well, we have our butterfly bush, which is super tall, and it has the deepest, most gorgeous flowers. I love the color of this butterfly bush. Whew. And then we have sunflowers, and I'm gonna show you a closer look, but look at that. Look at them. Oh my gosh. These really tall ones are all from Steve's Sunflower Steve. And they are just cross-pollinated mix of sunflowers, so you get what you get when you buy those. And look, that is just gorgeous. So much fun. So I did plant these in a raised bed, and they're behind my greenhouse. And my plan was that you could see the flowers over the greenhouse when they're in bloom. And guess what? You can. So here we are, we're at the front of the greenhouse. I'm standing right underneath my living room window, and I can see those sunflowers. That's so awesome. I'm so excited. All right, so let's keep going on the tour. I'm gonna pop up on the deck real quick to show you those before we get into the heart of the garden. These deck pots are looking so beautiful. This one is by far my favorite. I just absolutely love it. This is the Proven Winners Mini Vista Yellows with, I think it's Pink Star. And then this one is the Mini Vista Yellows with the Pink Cashmere Superbena. Really fun. Spencer loves this one. I think it's a little wild. I really love this one. It's my favorite. Then down here, in a mostly shade container, this is about as much sun as it gets every morning. And we put pink impatiens and pink begonias, and they're doing so beautiful. Actually, I'm going to show you from the other side because it's just absolutely gorgeous. We haven't uncovered our pond for the night. We do cover our pond, and it's getting harder to do because the carex has gotten so large, which is something that we're going to be working on very soon. Let's look at this container. It's so pretty. And then Spencer popped in a couple of little hostas. That's like mouse ears, and this is mouse ears. I don't know what one this is, but really sweet. And I just love how these impatiens are filling in the container, and then these beautiful blooms, really similar to the impatiens, but with these really bold leaves. It's just so much fun. So let's get into the rest of the garden. It's just looking like it's so full. It's so fun. I will mention that I do have native violas just kind of crawling around in here, and they're super happy. But I accidentally broke my climbing hydrangea when I planted it, and so I stuck a stem in a pot of soil, and look, it has buds all over it. So exciting. We just keep it watered and it's super happy. This container has petunias in it. I don't remember which kind they are. These are not proven winter petunias, but they do speak to the pink and yellow, which is really fun. We have some milkweed. We have the Supertunia lovey-doveys in these two containers, and I have no idea why this one doesn't look as full as this one. I don't care. They're so fun. It's so beautiful. And then we have these dahlias with this super dark foliage. This one's a little older. This is a more fresh one. And then we have a lupin about to bloom right there. And we have a dahlia opening up right here. And we have another dark foliage, and this one should be red. That'll open up here. The cannas are looking great. This one will probably bloom soon, which is fun. Over here, and hopefully you'll be able to see a little bit better because it's more shade, Spencer planted up this tire with a climbing black-eyed Susan and a volunteer nasturtium. And it's just so fun. It's so great. He put a stake in here so it'll start growing up and just kind of like just ramble all over the place. You could see the black-eyed Susan vine is like coming out here and just, it's going wild. We have some pink Barcopa and I don't know, all the things. Whatever these things are, I always forget the name of these. I know I say that every time, but I seriously cannot keep that name in my head. Volunteer snapdragons I planted these by seed a couple of years ago. This is the second or third season, and this will be the third time I cut all the flowers back. And there's tons of growth down deep, so we'll be able to cut those back and keep getting blossoms. We have a gladiola, and it's like, I want to say that's probably really close to 5 foot tall, especially once I do that. It's a dark red gladiola. We had one already bloom once and, be done blooming. Hosta's looking pretty good. Both hostas. Look at that one. It's so tiny and cute. Repeat flowers. We have a volunteer viola there. Lamb's ear, which needs to be cut back. It's so hard. Right now, it doesn't look like much, but in the evenings, the bees are just like all over these things. So it's hard to cut them back. The hellebores are all looking, like hellebores. They're not blooming this time of year, but they look good. They don't look all trashed. Sometimes in the heat, they'll start looking kind of like super tired and want to get cut back early, but they're still looking good. More lamb's ear. We've got a cyclamen in bloom. This thing has been in bloom for months and months. We've got chocolate flower back here. Again, really wild. I know it's growing all squirrely like this because the soil is not deep enough for it. I grew them in containers because I didn't want to confuse them with the noxious weed, Queen Anne's lace, because they look very, very similar. They're in the same family, the carrot family. You can see the pollinators on there. There's like 4 pollinators on there. It's funny. They get like a burgundy, pinky blush on them, and they have a really great dried flower, and that's what I grew them for. Here we have the cup and saucer vine, which is, I mean, it is just going crazy this year, which is super fun. We have a bunch way up in the tree, up in the maple tree. And I'm like, just leave it, let it bloom. You can see it like way up there. And it would be so fun if it blooms and we have blooms like inside the tree. With the cup and saucer vine, we planted a crookneck, or no, it's just it's a squash. And we have a couple fun squash right there and right there. And then we have another volunteer nasturtium. They're just kind of like everywhere this year. We have another butterfly bush here. Not as dark of foliage and not quite as tall. A lot better bloomer, at least this year anyway. Both these butterfly bushes, this one, and oh, you can't even see it through the sunflowers anymore. Oh my gosh, it's so pretty. Okay, this one. They were here when I moved in, so I don't know the varieties, but they are not invasive. They go to seed, and I never have to pull a butterfly bush ever. Then we have the Helens von Stein lamb's ear, which I planted separately from those because I wanted to see if there really was a big difference. And there is. You could see that it's as long as my hand here. It is, close to 3 inches wide, whereas these ones, full maturity, are not as big. So, okay, I get it. And they're not, these ones are not blooming. I don't know if that's because this is the first year and it's just focused on growing, or maybe they don't bloom as crazy as the species does. I don't know. Again, more pin cushion flowers and Celine. And I think, part of the problem is planting this Celine with a wispy plant like a pin cushion flower. It just made everything look kind of wild and crazy. Oh, they're so pretty. We have a big swath of Lucifer crocosmia there, and behind that we have what are those? Bidens, and that is the Proven Winners Biden. I think it's like marshmallow, campfire marshmallow maybe. But she's super happy right there. She's in shade most of the day. And then we have Antique Shades Viola with Dichondra Falls in this container and in this container. And these containers, I cut them back maybe 3 weeks ago to like nothing. And they all fleshed out again, which is so fun. I grew all of these from seed, which is just like such a great pleasure and like a huge accomplishment. In this recycled barbecue, we threw some soil in there and we've got some squash. We have like so many squash, and like I think I need to maybe thin them out because will it support that many squash? I don't know. Anyway, it looks pretty. It's all nice and green. We have a honeysuckle over here looking really pretty. It's got little blooms and she just looks green and healthy and climbing over this fence. Just very like country garden nostalgia in my opinion. Okay, we're turning around and we're looking at these sunflowers again. Oh my gosh, they're so tall. of course they would have been spectacular in the ground, but I just thought it's like super fun to see them up behind, because, you know, even though it's a raised bed and there's a greenhouse there, normally we can't see anything unless we walk all the way over here to, you know, like enjoy what's ever in the raised bed, which we've done vegetables before, and if it's production, I don't really care if I see it or not. But when it's flowers, I want to see them. So I really love having the ability to see the sunflowers from my living room, and they're peeking over the greenhouse. It's perfection this year. We have our raspberries are so big. It's like, what are they reaching for? Where are they going? They're pretty much done with production. I mean, I still get, like, you know, morning snack. But for the most part, they're done producing berries. We got, I think like 5 or 6 pints of berries off of it. So it's pretty good. Before we go there, I'm going to go back down this way and show you the Proven Winners Suncredibles. These are, I think they're Saturn, I think. They're so pretty. Oh, I love them. And it is true, the more you deadhead them, the more they bloom. And it is time to come in and deadhead again. There's just like tons of new blooms coming. This is one plant, and it's just so beautiful. Okay, so then we've got the Sunflower Steve sunflowers, growing at different rates. And I did grow, I think these I put in the ground maybe 2 weeks after I planted these, so that I would have successive blooms, because these are single stalk sunflowers. So even though they're huge, they're just gonna have that one big head, and then that'll be it. So I did do some succession planting, so I have some flowers for the season. And then I have one squash plant in here, which the leaves are looking gorgeous, but I don't see any flowers or squash. Oh, look at this cluster. Oh my gosh. Okay, that's a good morning snack. That one's almost too ripe. Oops. Well, there you go. All right, let's go to the front. Okay, we are almost done, but this is why I divide the garden up into quadrants in the summertime, because there's just so much to look at. There's just so much. It's like all the plants are doing something, instead of a few plants that I could just like, I try to focus my garden tours on plants that are doing something, rather than like every single plant every single time. But in the summertime, pretty much every single plant is doing something. So that makes the tours a little bit longer. So thank you for your patience. Thank you for walking through the garden with me. And I'm so pleased that I get to do this with all of you. And let's keep going, because we have all of the greenhouse and in front of the greenhouse to look at. So here in front of the greenhouse, we have a raised bed that has a lupin and a pumpkin in it. And we had one lupin bloom. The rest of them, they kind of got put out here late, because I planned to put them somewhere else, and that area is not ready to be planted, and I needed to get them out of the greenhouse because they were frying. So I just put them in here, and that's where they're just gonna live until I make space for them in another part of the garden. I'm hoping that I'll be able to plant them out this fall. We have Escallonia in these pots, which I just keep trimmed into a little ball, because I don't know if you'll be able to tell in the sun, probably not. But this whole plant right here is an Escallonia. It's huge, and I have to trim these like every few days, because it wants to be that big. And they've been in here for 2 years, and they will also be transplanted out this fall. This one was underplanted with some things last year, but they didn't come back, and I didn't try to plant anything underneath them this year. We do have a couple of straw flowers that were in here. One got taken out because it was done blooming. This one might still bloom, so it's still there. This one has a red dianthus, and this flower smells so good. And I love this icy blue texture. It's just, there's something so magnificent about this plant. I love it. I want more of them. I definitely need to find places that I could plant more of those. And then we have some straw flowers tucked in here. I'm growing lots of straw flowers this year because I wanted to have a cut flower garden dedicated to dry flowers. So this entire raised bed, I only plant, well, this spring I planted peas and carrots, but other than the peas and carrots, everything else is dedicated to dried flower arrangements so that I could save the blooms, dry them, and use them in flower arrangements in the winter and fall. We do have some Iceland poppies right here. I planted these in honor of my trip to Iceland this year because, hello, why wouldn't I? All right, so in this raised bed, we have some hollyhocks coming on. I love these leaves, absolutely gorgeous. We have these beautiful, these are dreadhead amaranth, not amaryllis, amaranth. And oh my gosh, they are so gorgeous. And they hold their color really well as a dried flower. They do eventually fade out, but they do really well for a long time. And then we have, what are these again? Celosia. These are the pink flamingo celosia. And then we have some hot pink and white globe amaranth. And then over here we have a big patch of straw flowers. These are a pink color. We've got a yellow one. We've had coral and a bunch of other colors. And then we have a larkspur in here. This one's doing a lot better than the other one we looked at. It has foliage and everything, which is nice. And then we have poppies. Now the flower doesn't dry. It just falls apart. Really gorgeous, gorgeous flower. But the seed heads do dry. So that's super fun. And then here we have the chocolate flower again, and you could see more of its blush colors on this one. And then there's a whole bunch right there. And then we have some California poppies that have been blooming and blooming and blooming, and I'm so excited because this is the first time I've got California poppies to actually bloom. I'm just letting them self-seed all around right there, and hopefully they'll just keep self-seeding everywhere. All right, swinging around here, we have this enormous dahlia. And I'm so glad to see a little bit of maybe some bud action, because I was like, are you just gonna get huge and never give me any flowers? We have a Delata planted underneath here, and it just keeps reblooming and reblooming. It's got these cute little white or yellow flowers, so fun. And then we have these giant super petunias. Look at them. And it's so happy. It's like, okay, this dahlia wants to get that big, fine, we'll grow back here and down there. And it's just crazy. And then we have these lemon slice super bells that are just, they are just like not at all happy. I think maybe they're too wet. I don't know. They're just not happy. Everywhere in the garden, they're just, we've cut them back, we've treated them, we keep monitoring them, and like this side looks great and this side looks like trash. I don't know. Again, huge patch of these giant super petunias. Honestly, I like them better than the bubblegums. They're just so big. It's so fun to look at. And then we do have a dahlia that's trying to grow right here. It's kind of getting swallowed up. All right, and then in the greenhouse, we have a tomato plant that needs to be staked again. And then we have our very first red tomato. It's so exciting. Can you see it? I don't know. Oh. And then I had these random seedlings that I wasn't entirely sure what they were because things got moved around. And I'm so happy about it. This amaranth, while I know it's suffering, look how small the stalks are, or the blooms are. They're not all fat. But the structure of it coming out of that birdcage is just so beautiful. I love it. And then this is Feverfew, which is so sweet and super fun. It's just like a really fun surprise gift to have, these like random plants in this little pot. And then this is Lisianthus. Oh my goodness, let's take this off so she can bloom. These are the only 2 of a dozen Lisianthus that I planted that have gotten any kind of growth on them, and I have no idea if they're going to bloom or not. Look, they've got some mushroom friends in there. And then we have this false flowering maple. Huh, it's just like such a prolific flower power plant. Really fun. Really, really fun. And then we have this Tulsi basil, and I just cannot keep up on it. I've got to cut it back again. It just like, it blooms like every day. Just crazy amounts of blooms. And I have these really sad looking squash that I never planted into the garden. And I have a little baby squash on it. So, okay. Over here, we have peppers. So this one still just has like little flowers on it. But look at that. Oh my gosh. And tons of flowers up here, which potentially can turn into peppers. And these are the Anaheim peppers. So fun. Love it. And then here I got this Margaret's pepper. No idea, but it looks like maybe like a bell pepper or something. Ugh, it looks so delicious. Ugh, look at them. So fun. And then I planted this one amaranth in this pot, and it is the biggest one. The foliage is definitely like, she's so done. So I am going to cut this back and start drying it. I'm just so happy with it. It's so beautiful. All right, that is gonna be the backyard garden tour. It was quite extensive today. There's so much going on, and it's such a fun time of year. Thank you so much for walking around my garden with me today. I hope that you enjoyed it, and I hope that you're celebrating your life, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.